Hello FNAFers! The spring has come and so did FNAF. This week, Stillworld has just uploaded a new trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach.
Hello FNAFers! The summer spring has come and so did FNAF. And a few months ago, Still has uploaded a trailer for the FNAF Security Breach Ruin DLC, and so we'll fully analyze it today. It revealed what that computer teaser was on Still's website. It revealed who that girl on the first teaser was, and it showed us a mysterious entity at the end. FNAF SB trailer analysis was my first video on this channel, so I guess you can call this kinda a remake or a part 2 to it. That will show how much I have improved since then in making videos. But without any further ado, let's begin. The trailer starts with us entering the now ruined Pizzaplex, and while this happens, we can hear Gregory asking Cassie for help because he is trapped under the Pizzaplex, but he doesn't have time to tell us how he got there. At first I thought that this was a completely new area, but in actuality, this is the entrance to the Pizzaplex that we saw in the main game, but now all ruined and the glass seems to be broken, which is actually the way we will enter the Pizzaplex. This might be just the starting cutscene, but some people think that maybe we'll start outside and we will need to find a way to climb up and enter the Pizzaplex, which I don't think would happen, but that would be really cool if it did. We can see that it is actually either morning or evening outside, which is the first time we will play FNAF while the sun is still out. But on the inside it won't be so bright, cause it seems like most of the lights, signs and energy will be turned off, due to it being probably abandoned, due to how hard it is to repair anything here. Cause as we can see, the company did try to repair the Pizzaplex, cause the whole window is covered in newspapers, which people do when they are renovating something. And there are things like ladders, boxes and forklift trucks that won their turn in the game. And because of all of this and the fact that the building is covered with graffiti, we can assume that it has been weeks or even months since the events of Security Breach, and it might even be abandoned now. If the whole building won't have much lighting, it would probably satisfy a lot of people who complained about how the security breach was too bright and in turn not so scary, which I do agree with, and so I like this change. Now, moving on, we see a kitchen area, which looks pretty messed up with what seems to be the ceiling light being fallen down. At the end of the kitchen, we see a dipping bird toy thing, stylized as Chica. This whole area could perhaps be the Atrium food court kitchen from the game, as they look real similar. Next we see a hallway for the Monty's Gator Golf security office, an Atrium food court back kitchen hallway, which were actually a few of the cut areas that were planned to be in Security Breach but were scrapped. But it seems like we will be now visiting these cut areas, perhaps cause the old areas will be blocked off, and maybe these areas will be behind the high level doors we couldn't enter in the main game, but now they will be opened. In the back we can see a wet floor bot still activated, which I am sure will make everybody happy to see him back. Also, we will be returning to this Monty office hallway later, so note it down for yourself. Next we see a Monty golf area, and it seems like the whole mini golf setup was flipped on its side, which probably confirms the burn trap ending, to be real, cause there are only two endings in which the Pizzaplex is destroyed. The fire ending, in which the building is set on fire and burns to the ground, and burn trap ending, in which everything begins to collapse. And let me tell you this, a fire would not flip whole mini golf setup on its side, only burn it. So this and the fact that Gregory says that he is trapped under the Pizzaplex perhaps confirms that Burn Shop ending is the real ending, but we'll talk about that more in the next video. In the next moment we see staircase of Glamrock gifts and the big Monty Head waterfall, which was actually on one of the teasers we got from Darko back when FNAF SP was just coming out. Interestingly, even though everything is ruined and abandoned, and most of the lights are turned off, the water is still running. Then we have another hallway, but it seems to have been blocked by some toolboxes and a broken down staff bot. And interestingly, we don't see a working staff bot in the trailer, which perhaps means that they have been removed from the game, which a lot of people would probably be happy about because of how many there were in the main game. Then we see a ruined daycare, which I really like how it looks because of how abandoned it feels. After this, we see something that looks like sewers, where we run from Chica, but ironically it might be the cupcake shop based on its walls in the back. And now comes the elevators area near the entrance, where we can see some boxes, some scraps on the floor of paint or something probably from the frame, and there are graffiti all over most of the walls, pink in purple, which is the same color as Venice graffiti from the game. But it is probably someone else, and there are words "close forever" in yellow, which is probably one of the people who have been here, telling them to just close and never open a new location again, because at every location there is always something bad happening. Also, yellow and purple reminds me of William and Golden Freddy, or Glitch Shop. Then we see the cupcake shop again, but there is nothing to say here, so let's talk about this scene of us peeking out and looking at ruined Roxy at the Glamrock Beauty Salon, based on its color, Roxy Raceway posters in the back, and images of scissors on the walls. And Roxy is my favorite design from the trailer. It looks like she is wearing a gas mask, which she isn't, but it makes her look really cool. Her eye sockets look different from how they were in the game, but maybe that's just cause now they are more damaged. Or also people theorize that maybe she is trying to rebuild her face. Then we see Cassie tampering with our new tool, which has two buttons, a scroll wheel, a screen, and a fork to plug into devices, which we will see being used later in the trailer. I would also like to talk about Cassie here as well as Gregory talking in the background, but I will have a whole video for them, so let's continue with the return of the Endos. Because in the next scene we see an Endo being activated as we walk up to it and then freezing when we look at it, meaning that they are keeping their mechanics from the main game. Although now they won't have red eyes, which is interesting. Here we are near the daycare's Lucky Stars gift shop, which seems to be closed, and on its windows are crime scene tapes, which is interesting. Is it there cause of the Endos, or cause it is really ruined and so dangerous to walk inside? Then we see the Glamrock Beauty Salon again, but this time we are hiding from Chica, who walks by us, while we are crouching. And as we can see in the corner, the crouching pose icon has been changed to look like Cassie instead of Gregory, which is a neat detail. And here we can see that some lights do still work for some reason. Maybe they are on the backup generators? Who knows? Now, we'll talk about the next moments in just a moment. But before that, I want to ask you to please subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my videos and press the like button with a bell. Next we have a scene in which we come up to the security camera station from the teaser and use it, probably activating it with our new tool. We talked about these camera stations in the last video, but to briefly sum it up, here we will be able to look at the cameras of the area we are at and look at the minimap. because we won't have the fast watch anymore. And here we see mounted golf cams and Roxy Raceway cams, on which we can probably distract Roxy using the intercom button at the bottom left. And in the next scene, we are on the other side of the Lucky Star gift shop door, with the golden sun and moon statue in the back. And we use our tool again and plug it into this device, in which I think we'll need to connect wires to open the door so we could get out of there. Though some people theorize that maybe these are our new safe stations, which is possible, but I think my theory is more correct, because we can even see a wire going from it to the door. In the next scene, we are back at the Glamrock Beauty Salon again, which is fitting, because we see Cassie get out a Roxy-themed walkie-talkie and telling Gregory to run. This probably tells us that we might see Gregory on cameras, like on the teaser, but maybe Gregory told her that he saw an animatronic, and that's why she tells him to run. But I think the first option is more possible. And even though it is possible that we had the walkie-talkie from the start, I think that maybe because it is Roxy themed, we will find it at the Glamrock Beauty Salon, which we see a lot in this trailer. But I could be wrong. Then we see another broken Staffbot, but this is not as interesting as the next scene, in which we see Monty, who doesn't have anything from his suit left except a tuft of his red mohawk, which combined with the fact that parts of his endo are bronze made him look like Foxy from a distance. And here he is trying to get through the gates, just like he did in the security breach. But this is the Monty Golf security office, which we actually saw at the end of the hallway in the beginning, as you can see by the same falling down cabinet from before, and in the old cut versions of this room, the Monty drawing on the wall, which we did also see in the hallway scene, which makes me think that maybe this will be our first encounter with him. But who knows? In the next scene, we are riding on the Monty ride and then jumping down onto the catwalks, which now have a bucket and a mop. Again, hinting at the fact that after security breach, they tried to clean up and fix things, but sadly gave up. In the corner of the scene, we see a spinning icon, which could be either a loading or an autosave, which would be cool, and I think based on the teaser revealed by Jaco not so long ago, that we jumped onto this right from the repair room for it, and rode it to get onto the catwalks for some reason. Then we see ourselves hiding from Chica again, back at the cupcake shop, followed by us being attacked by Monty, and even though we see Cassie try to hold back, which is for the first time in FNAF, we see static at the end, which probably means that this is a jump scare. And unlike most places here, we actually haven't seen this one yet, but it looks a lot like the sewers with those doors. We also get a closer look at Monty here, who seems to have broken teeth. And then we see Chica going up a conveyor belt for some reason at a location that also seems new. And as we can see, she is missing her beak, and that combined with Roxy still missing her eyes and Monty still missing his legs means that Freddy has all the upgrades, which I think happens only in the Burn Trap ending, and maybe the Vanny ending. And speaking of Freddy, in the next scene we see him trying to get up while laying on a pile of Staffbots at the Phaser Blast maze, which is reminiscent of the Vanny endings. But in the Vanny endings, the Pizzaplex is not collapsing, and the only ending where the Pizzaplex does collapse is the Burn Trap ending. But we'll talk more about the ending in the next video. But I think based on this scene, and the fact that still a long time ago posted an image that had Shattered Freddy, I think he will try to kill us as well this time, which will be bad because he has all of the upgrades now. But maybe in the end, we'll be able to free him from glitch trap control. But let's talk about the next scene, where Roxy is holding Cass's hand, tilts her head, and when we try to get our hand out with our other hand and touch her, she looks in that direction. And this could be a jump scare, but to me it seems more friendly or even curious. And based on the fact that our walkie-talkie is Roxy themed and Cass's nails are green just like Roxy's, I think that there is a possibility that maybe she will be on our side in Ruin. Also, her eye sockets have two holes which look perfect to plug in our device. And so if we will do that, maybe that's the reason she will be on our side this time. But that's just a theory. Then we see Sun and Moon combined into one due to damage rush at us, throwing the doors to the daycare wide open and then waving at us. And I think he will act both like Sun and Moon at the same time because of this. He will act nice and let us in, but also sometimes snap at us because of his Moon personality. After he presumably lets us into the daycare, we see a scene of us inside it, putting on Vanny's mask, which makes me guess that this will happen in the late game. And even though in the Vanny ending Vanny drops her mask, this mask is actually different from the one in Security Breach, because unlike it has a tuft of hair on the top, just like the one from FNAF VR. But its insides are upgraded and it seems to have maybe a voice changer. And when we put it on, it looks like a red night vision. But we also see some strange purple clouds, which I am only willing to guess are something related to the virus or Glitchtrap. And speaking of him, the trailer ends with a strange animatronic that reminds of Shadow Bunny and Vanny. In my first ever video, I assumed that the bone chop hand at the end of this FNAF SP trailer was Shadow Springtrap.
You may not recognize him at first, but I think that's the Shadow Springtrap himself.
And I could assume here that this is Shadow Vanny, but it has animatronic joints and arms, and I don't think that they would kill off Vanny so easily. Instead, I would assume that this is Glitchtrap, because here he looks similar to how he does in the Princess Quest, which actually seems to represent the whole Ruin DLC. But we'll talk about that also in the next video. Maybe we'll start to see him if we wear Vanny's mask too much, or maybe he fused with the Blob and some other animatronics like DJ Music Man, and that's why he has similar hands to him. Now, I tried to record this video a few hours ago and it took me about 40 minutes. And then I found out that my mic wasn't recording. So yeah, those 40 minutes were wasted for nothing. So yeah, tell me in the comments who you think this is, and if you think Roxy will be on our side. Or you can join my Discord server in the description and talk about it there. But for now, that's it. Subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my videos, press the like button with the bell, and remember, I always come.